Hello and welcome back to the Pharaoh's Legion. So, a lot has happened since I saw you last. We've had that amazing trailer. We've had a look at the new box set. We know third edition is coming. We know it's definitely Saturnine. And that everything we've seen so far and heard is true. So what we're looking at, what I'm looking at with you, is kind of the future of the game, the rules that we still want and need that are coming out. So looking at things like vehicles, how dreadnoughts might be made a little bit more viable because we all want dreadnoughts. Apparently, we'll be able to use a whole dreadnought army without feeling sad or like we've grown a huge beard because everything's going to be a bit more balanced. Things that sound a bit similar to 40k, really, as in 40k, I know you can take whatever you want pretty much, but only some things can score, so you can't score objectives, it will limit you. And everything has a niche, so it's either anti-tank or it's anti-infantry, and you can change up the weapons, willy-nilly, as they say. um, I'm very excited, like everyone else, for the new edition. Just because a few of the changes I enjoy. The models look like they're getting better and better, which is nice because I think there were a few little snags here and there. I think some people were not happy about things like the Space Wolf models, but the plastics are impressive every time. Like I said, the Saturnine, I wasn't really up for that. Then I saw the models. You've seen them spin around. I've seen pictures of them. They look great. The Dreadnought, everybody wants, so that's also looking pretty good. Um, I don't think I haven't seen anything bad, frankly. I think making sure that the usual balance is something that I think we need to make sure we're keeping a hold of. The 2.0, I think it was pretty balanced. There were a couple of things here and there. I think Legends were a bit hit and miss, or they were Legends for a reason. And I think a few things. I know some people, I think demons were terrible, and some people think demons were too good. It was a combination, really. The troops and things weren't really that great, but again, demons are more. I think they're more like an allies unit for fun. I really like the idea of summoning them, especially as a word bearer. That was quite cool. But when you could have three sovereigns in one army, that was a bit scary. One sovereign is a monster, especially if you are giving him the upgrade for putrid, blah blah, giving him a 5-up feel no pain. So and at toughness 6, when are you ever going to need to feel pain? Probably never, unless it's instant death, and that did not really happen often. So you had a shed load of wounds. You were a monster in close combat. You had instant death on a strength 10 weapon with 7 attacks. You know, it was 3 of them could just wipe out an army on their own. You didn't really need the rest of your army. So the rest of the demons not being any good was fair enough. I think the demon monster, obviously the Lord of War, was really good, even better I think than Kabanda. But yeah, the wounds, the stats were kind of, I'll put them up, of the sovereign. Once you've beefed him up, these are the stats. So you can see, coming in at weapon skill 6 and initiative 6 with strength 10, you're already just instant deathing things anyway. Then you had instant death on top of that on a 5-up. So you started to hurt other monstrous creatures, vehicles, tanks, anything short of a Primarch. And even a Primarch is going to struggle against this thing because your instant deaths, you need to be instant deathing this thing. I think a lot of people did not really, well, and still don't. They don't use the Esoterist for defense. It's only used for summoning demons and attack. The Esoterist as a defensive weapon is really good. He brings the toughness down of an enemy that you're fighting. He also has a piddly 12-shot psychic attack against a regular Space Marine. With the 3-up save, you won't care. But against a demon unit, against a sovereign, you're wounding on, it's got like a demon bane or something, so it's like a 2-up wounding, and then you have to re-roll your invulnerable saves. So suddenly it becomes really kind of painful. And so, a couple of those guys in your army will start hurting, not just those guys, but anyone corrupted in a word bearer's army, for example. You'll deal out a lot of damage and kind of nullify their bonuses, like taking their toughness down to 4 or 3, depending on what it is. Will really help, especially in those early turns when demons have higher toughnesses. I think vehicles, the difference between a vehicle and a dreadnought, I think that was a bit too wide. Having a dreadnought coming in with toughness 7 or Leviathan toughness 8, which is, really tough. 6 wounds is quite a lot of wounds to chip off, especially when you've got a 5-up invulnerable save and a 2-up save on top of that, because there isn't a lot of AP2. And anything, AP2 plasma, it still isn't going to be wounding something toughness 8. Melter guns are short range, so it's really hard to get them before they're really on top of you. And 6 wounds is a lot to get through. Then you have a vehicle where you can one-shot it with a melter gun if you're really close, whereas one-shotting a dreadnought is not possible. So this is where I'll be looking at balance in that way. So we've got demons, dreadnoughts, and balancing vehicles in some way. We don't want to make them too tough, so a Spartan with a flare shield kind of became a bit too hard to get rid of, especially because after it had kind of disgorged its insides, which was made of Terminators or whatever, ran out of it. It kind of didn't matter if you could destroy it after that, although it still had heavy weapons and it was still a real pain. It was too difficult to get rid of them. Also not difficult because you can get really close and you can multi-melter in the side, and again, one shot, it just seems a bit cruel or too easy. And then, needing a 99 shots from far away on the front armor also seemed a bit too difficult. So for me, I think another thing that we need to kind of go the way of 10th edition 40k is putting wounds on vehicles. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of people be like, oh, where's our vehicles? But what about the armor facing? I don't see any problem in having armor facing and wounds. I think you end up with, say 4 wounds, just as they do now. I also think dreadnoughts need to come down to about 4 wounds the way they are. You could change other things, but that would make things just a lot easier, a lot quicker. 4 wounds on something that tough would be fine, and then you can take multiples without feeling too bad. Like 2 in 1,000 points rather than 1, for example. But again, with things like the disintegrator weapons, that kind of thing, we don't know how that will affect these guys. Yes, we do. Oh, you're right, we do. Who said that? So what has happened is we now have weapons that do damage, multiple damages. So we had brutal was the closest we got to it before, where you had to take 2 saves instead of 1. So you could do 2 wounds with, say, a thunder hammer. You could hit something. You do 2 wounds instead of 1. So you'd make sure you really kill the Terminator or something like that, or you really hurt a dreadnought. And this was definitely the way to go. So in that way, you've softened dreadnoughts up and things, because you can shoot with a las cannon. Let's say a las cannon is 6 wounds or whatever. Then you could las cannon a dreadnought to death, but you couldn't bolt pistol it to death that easily. So that's fine. And I think that is the ultimate balance. So in that way, put vehicles, give them wounds. And the way to get armor facings and wounds is to say, hopefully I can get you a visual. Let's do front armor. Let's say a Spartan, front armor, Spartan, toughness 9. Side armor, toughness 8. Flare shield makes you toughness 9. And rear armor, Spartan, obviously still toughness 8. But you only got 4 wounds, or las cannons do D6 or 6 wounds, automatic wounds, and that kind of thing. And then you've balanced it out already. It can't be one shot by one multi-melter gun. It can't be taken out by a lucky, one las cannon, even if that's not what you want to do. You want to take wound after wound after wound. And then you can up the wounds. So let's say 4 wounds isn't enough, because one las cannon can do 4 wounds, whereas you want a couple of las cannons to make a real difference, or that kind of thing. As I am thinking of kind of resurrecting my Mechanicum army, I'm looking at Thanatars. I love them. I'd like to view a few of them instead of just one without feeling bad. Anyone who takes a kind of a cybernetic army, you don't feel that bad, because your weapon skill 3, you can't really hit anything. You've got terrible initiative, Dreadnought could come and kill a bunch of you because it just hits harder, that kind of thing. I think testing is ready, books are ready, the release is imminent, so. But this is just what I'm hoping for, and I think you are probably hoping for the same thing. There is one thing, now I know a lot of people are, I'd say this way, there's controversy over reactions. Some people hate them, some people love them. I think I love and hate them at the same time. I definitely think reactions are good. It's something to do in your own phase. I would say that some things have suffered, so like flyers or anything that deep strikes suffered because you can give something an augury scanner, or it's automatically getting shot, and there's no test as such. I think from what I can see so far, the change to leadership and cool and the performing functions, I know they've added all these extra kind of leadership style values in, and I think that will change how each unit can react because of what is happening. And let's say a las cannon squad can't react really fast because it is a las, it's slow, heavy weapons, that kind of thing. So I'd imagine it can't react so much. Maybe it would do snap firing for something that came in, that kind of thing, or maybe it couldn't react at all, especially if you've pinned it, that kind of thing. So I think it sounds a bit more tactical. I like the idea of tactical, and I'm hoping it performs well, that things don't get too complicated. I know they are releasing just tokens, so we should know that, well, that one can't move, that one can't shoot, that one cannot react, and that one can't perform tasks. I imagine tasks are probably things like objectives, and you need slightly clever things to do objectives. So in that way, I hope it balances the game, objective-wise and tactical, which is kind of, again, part of the focus of the Pharaoh's Legion. I'm also hoping that it all comes out relatively close because I'm dying to run some events. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and always comment, because I really want to know what you're thinking. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want? That is definitely something I want to know.